Welcome back to Jawing About the G-Men. I am Joe Aguirre. That is King Zay. Oh, boy. Things did not go well. Things did not go well for the New York Football Giants. A 31-16 loss. That it wasn't even as close as that score might indicate. Devon Achane, 76-yard run, 13.7 yards per carry, 11 for 151. That's his third straight game. Zay, there was at least some sign of life from the Giants. Jason Pinnock returned an interception, 102 yards. Ties for the longest in Giants history. The Giants' first touchdown in the first half of a game this season. Things got worse. Daniel Jones left the game in the fourth quarter with a neck injury after a sack. Tyrod Taylor replaced him. And you know what I thought was super interesting about Tyrod Taylor coming to the game is how they committed to the run down 15 with 6 minutes to go. I thought that was just typical of what this season is. I understand the quarterback's under duress. There's not a lot of time to throw. Then throw it quick. Throw it quick. But also, there was one attempt down the field by Daniel Jones. He threw a pretty nice ball, and Darius Slayton did a really unbelievable job of not getting either foot in bounds. It didn't even try. He didn't even try to drag the feet. It was a very Giants attempt at doing something, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. This team, Zay, it's a disaster right now.
Yeah, but I'm not ready to. I'm not ready
for the funeral. It's not. So let's hear it.
I'm not ready for the funeral just yet. I'm not saying this team is going to win a Super Bowl, but I'm not ready to bury the season like some people are and tank and get a Caleb Williams because, like I keep telling people, just because you plug another quarterback in there doesn't mean that's going to be the instant answer to our issues. No, you make a point about throwing it quick. Well, receivers need to also get off, coverage quick. I think they did throw it quick often to guys like Waller, who we've seen, I think it was 88 yards or something like that. He had a pretty productive day that day. He also dropped a touchdown that also could have swung momentum in the game that could have actually kept the Giants in the game in the first half, which then who knows what happens in the second half. But I'm looking at the Giants, and I'm not seeing a terrible team. I'm seeing a team that continues to repeat and make the same mistakes. I think, and this is, and what I want to bring up is when they came back in that Cardinals game in the second half, they played almost mistake-free. The line had a couple of false starts, a couple of things, but offensively, they blocked well, they ran routes well, they caught the ball well, they played well. Daniel Jones made the right reads. Lately, they haven't been doing that. He hasn't been making the correct reads because obviously he's been under duress so long. He's just out here just trying to get rid of the ball, not trying to get hit anymore. He's probably seeing ghosts, but won't say it. The smart thing to do because the New York media will rip you to shreds. You have the line not picking up certain things, certain protections not being, put into play right before the play. Pre-snap reads aren't being made so he can make the proper adjustments. There are these small little things they have to improve upon before they can start winning games. Now, I look to a team like the Lions last year who started off, rough, kind of not sure what they were going to be. A lot of people were off the Dan Campbell bandwagon really early with the Lions. And then at the end of the year, the Lions just went on this ridiculous tear, and they almost ended up making the playoffs. I think Daboll's in a very similar situation this year, though the records aren't exactly the same, where now he has to find a way to make something out of this season and prove to people that he's still the coach that he was last year. I don't believe that the team has fell off or gotten worse. I think they need to improve. I think discipline needs to be improved. I think coaching needs to start coaching. But as far as the team, I still think that team still has potential to win games this year. After this Bills game, we got a light stretch where I think we'll really start to see who this team is and who Daboll is as a coach. Because if he can get this team through this stretch of teams that are in the lower echelon of teams in the league, then we can be like, okay, maybe they weren't bad. The Giants just, started off with a heavy schedule and dealt with injuries at the same time. And that what it looks like to me is a correlation of you got a lot of good playoff teams up front, and then you also had injuries. Right off the bat, you have the Cowboys, you have Seattle, you have 49ers, you have Miami, you have Dolphins, who are all expected to make the playoffs in some form of capacity, whether it's winning division or winning a wild card or getting into a wild card spot, whatever. That's a very rough schedule to start off with. Last year, the Giants had a reverse schedule where a lot of teams they faced weren't exactly playoff teams in the beginning. So that, their record reflected a better image going on. What's good, Rich? Been a while.
What's up? Say, what's up, Joe?
So I think now as the Giants schedule gets lighter, they get a chance to get healthier. We will start to see the team that we were expecting to see in the beginning of the year. But again, things started off rough. You got some really rough teams in the beginning. You dealt with some really rough injuries, and now you're just trying to weather the storm, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Couple of things. Obviously, Steve Risser joins us from Sports Talk with R&J Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Steve, when Steve jumps on, there's some issues. Steve, before I get to you, though, a lot of people are going to say offensive line. The offensive line is the problem, and it clearly is. But since the 2014 draft, the Giants have drafted 6 offensive linemen within the first 2 rounds. That's tied with the Texans for the most in the NFL during that span. They've drafted 3 offensive linemen with top 10 picks, Neal, Thomas, and the disaster that was Eric Flowers. No team has taken more than 1 offensive lineman in a top 10 in that span. Steve, this team's done a terrible job putting a line together, and their drafting has the secondary stuff is gone well. But as far as offensive linemen, they're not doing well here.
Oh, outside of Andrew Thomas, it's been absolutely pathetic. It's awful. I mean, I get the Andrew Thomas is good. Yeah, the Eric Flowers, Evan Neal, they've just been total disasters. They've tried, and they've had other guys trying to patch up the line. That's why Joe Shane should be to blame a little bit for this, because Joe Shane should definitely be blamed because he put this line together. He's putting this roster together. So yeah, the line has just been absolutely pathetic, and it's really they haven't had a good offensive line since 2012. I mean, that's been the biggest issue. That's with the Giants the last decade is the offensive line. It's just it was. When Eli was there, you could argue if it was Eli's fault or not, why they weren't as good. But the offensive line was terrible then. It was terrible under Joe Judge. It's terrible now.
Eli was not the issue. Eli is not a player who commanded a lot of money. The Giants were in a different situation. The quarterback market wasn't what it is today, where you can be like, well, that guy was making $40 million a year and you had no money like the Giants have a situation now. No, that was completely different. Giants won in 2011 or 2012, however you want to look at it. They won that year and thought that they were still in a good situation where they obviously should have been rebuilding. The line was on the decline as, the later half of their careers. And like Joe said, they've just been missing on picks. I've been saying it on this podcast and screaming out for years. Stop taking these offensive linemen. I said take Sauce. Y'all wanted Neal. I keep yelling these things. Stop taking these guys. And because I feel like you can get a lot of meat in the 3rd round in the draft. I feel like, especially over the last few years, the upper draft has become hit or miss. Look at it. You can make an argument about the Giants linemen, but look at the Browns. They can't draft a quarterback. They can't draft a quarterback. They can't pay a quarterback. They can't find a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And it's because you pick in the upper portion of the draft. And then you look at a team like the 49ers, who, again, I will keep saying that Brock Purdy is a front runner. Brock Purdy is in what you call a perfect quarterback situation. If you take Bryce Young or Trevor Lawrence or one of those guys, you put them on the 49ers, they're going to be just as good because that team is built to win. And all you got to do as a quarterback is just function. That's all Brock Purdy has to do. He has to come out, make the reads, make the throws, and that's all he has to do. Everyone else around him is going to do what they got. Christian McCaffrey's going to do what he's going to do. Brandon Ayuk is going to go do what he's got to do. But they got Brock Purdy in the end of the draft. Look at Giants. They took Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has been great. Don't get me wrong. He's been up and down, but when he's played, he's been great for us. But look at what the Jets did with Breece Hall. And the Giants could have took Breece Hall. We actually passed back twice on him.
Yeah,
we could have took him. And look at what the Jets got in the 3rd round with Breece Hall. I think we make too much of the first top 10 picks in the draft. because there's just too much pressure on those guys to carry a franchise right now. The league continues to get bigger, faster, and stronger every year, and you can't expect these guys to just come in and be miracle workers. They're not all going to be Pat Mahomes. You're not always going to get Joe Burrows. You're going to miss, or you're going to have to develop players. You're going to have to do one or the two. The Giants aren't doing either. They're missing, and they're not developing linemen either.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit, because Xavier McKinney the last couple of weeks, to me, has been terrible. And he's one of my favorite players. I love Xavier McKinney. He hasn't looked great. Kayvon Thibodeaux is coming on, but you tell me if I'm seeing things, if you've observed this. There seems to be a lot of plays where his effort reminds me of Randy Moss in his prime, where it's a running play away from him. He's not all that into it.
No.
I've seen plays where he comes running down the field with no intention of making a tackle. I feel like this is a guy who has the ability to be a disruptor. I think he's got to figure out how to turn that motor on. And I think that will work wonders for this defense. And Okereke has been playing much better the last couple of weeks. Incidentally, Mika McFadden is injured. Looks like he's going to miss this game. That guy has been unbelievable this season.
Only guy that can tackle on the team.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that can tackle.
It's like a one-man wrecking crew.
Yeah, that's a lot to unfold, Joe. What you said. I don't know. Rich, you want to go first? Because
listen. I actually agree with Joe. Yeah, the effort with Thibodeaux is definitely questionable. He has the 4 sacks. I get it, but the effort is questionable. And Randy Moss could get away with not showing effort. This guy can get away with not showing effort. This guy is not playing up to potential. He can't get away with that stuff.
He's more like Clowney than
exactly.
Moss been out there and put numbers.
Good comparison.
Maybe I was getting a little extreme, and you know what? You're right. Clowney is in the league, and so he definitely a better reference. Look, again, it's a guy with all the talent in the world, and I feel like if this guy was 100% making every effort on every play. I'm not saying Lawrence Taylor or Micah Parsons, but I think Kayvon Thibodeaux has the ability to be a big-time game changer for the Giants, and I don't know. I just don't feel it.
No.
I'm not seeing it so far. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, he's got the talent, but I'm not seeing it so far. No, I'm not. He had that one great game last year against Washington, but I'm not seeing it so far.
I'm with him. I mean, I don't agree with the statement you made about him, taking off plays. I've seen him make a lot of backside tackles. I've seen him run across the field and make some.
But a lot of the backside tackles are tackles he missed in the beginning.
Look, whatever.
He's running. I mean, which is nice, but make him in the backfield.
The effort was still there. My point is,
hold on. Let me respectfully disagree. I feel like if the effort was there on the first tackle, he wouldn't be making all these backside tackles. He's made some moves in the backfield that where he's sort of gotten juked, and again, it's had to make up for it. And he runs down the field, but again, I don't know. Finish the pile off.
Of course,
come down there and put some hurt on somebody.
Xander says it comes from being a part of a losing franchise, which I get it, but you got to show the effort, man. You don't deserve to be. You don't deserve to show no effort. Come on.
Right, well, Xander, not for nothing, he's been playing like that since last season
when the team was 9-7.
Well. Yeah. So we weren't losers then.
Yeah.
Why are these Cowboys fans even talking? I don't even understand.
After their pathetic performance on Sunday night, exactly.
I'll tell you exactly why.
We showed more heart.
because you could look at the New York Giants and feel like you're leagues ahead of us, and that's great. The weird thing in all this is, right, the Giants got blown out by Dallas. The Giants beat the Cardinals. The Niners struggled with the Cardinals. The Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. The Niners blow out the Cowboys. Make this make sense. I don't what? How is that even possible?
Divisional games are always tough. That's always going to be – I don't care what you say. Divisional games are always going to be tough no matter how bad the team is. It's like with us having facing Washington in a couple of weeks. Washington isn't really that good of a team, but it's going to be a tough game. Washington, you saw them play the Eagles, who, again, is a championship caliber team, and they took them down to the wire in overtime a couple of weeks ago. So when you talk about divisional games, it's a little different because you're more familiar with your opponent. You see that opponent more often. You know, you're more predictable on plays. That goes a long way in any sport. When you're playing someone within your conference or division, it's more likely that those games will be closer. Show me the schedule.
Man, this has been such a – well, I want to look at this because the Giants are 1-4, and I don't suppose either of you feels real good Sunday night about the Giants. So let's say we're going to go 1-5 as we head into a stretch. So hold on. You make your case in a minute. Washington, the Jets, the Raiders, Cowboys, Washington, Patriots, Green Bay, New Orleans. I mean, that's not a tough schedule. The last three are potentially bad. Here's the other thing. Is there a reason why we always have to play the Eagles like 2 weeks apart? What kind of diabolical scheme is that?
They're hoping we're playing for the division. Giants, Eagles for the division last game of the year. They would love nothing more. Ratings would fly through the roof. Eagles and Cowboys is good, but no, I don't think anyone hates each other.
That happened last year with us in Washington. We played like 2 out of 3 weeks. Well, I think Washington plays 2 weeks in a row last year.
I hate that.
Yeah.
We played them again. It's basically 2 weeks. It's almost like that again. Yeah. But yeah, like that schedule's, like you said, it's not that brutal. And as far as Sunday, here's what I will say. It should be a blowout. The Giants should lose. Because I got to wrap things up. I got to go. The Giants should lose. It should be absolute blowout. It should go murder just like the rest of the games have gone against teams that we've expected it to blow us out. The Bills are known for not playing up to their opponent sometimes.
Just did it last weekend, did they? Against the Jaguars. That what a downer after such a great game against Miami.
The Jaguar situation I told you was different. The Jaguars have been there an extra week. They're more used to it. The Bills were traveling over. There's jet lag. There's all types of stuff. They still found a way to pull out the game. There's still, when you're there for 2 weeks and you're acclimated to the time zone and everything, that's a little different. When you just come over and you're still trying to get your sleep back, it might take you a while to get going. But the Bills, again, they dropped the game against the Jets. They should have beat the Jets.
Yeah, but Josh Allen always struggles against the Jets. He's had trouble with the Jets. Again, he lost to him last year, especially in MetLife Stadium. He struggled with them. He struggled with them twice last year. The guy who
created him. The guy that created him is going to be on the other side of the sideline. There's no one who knows more about the mind of Josh Allen right now than Brian Daboll should know. And if the Giants have any advantage or any chance at winning, it's going to be that. It's going to be a slim chance, but there is that chance. Defense wins us a game. Tyrod Taylor comes. Here's my difference. The difference between Tyrod Taylor to me and Daniel Jones is, I think what we're seeing with Neal and missing blocks, Tyrod Taylor is going to be smart enough to pick those up just based off his experience and playing for so many different teams and seeing so many different defenses and fronts and looks and whatnot. He'll be able to make those adjustments, I think, better than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is still coming new to the offense. He's still learning things because, again, they put the training wheels on last year. They took the training wheels off this year. So he's still trying to find his way through this offense, making adjustments, making reads. He said it when he threw the pick against Seattle. He called the wrong play. He thought it was a different play. He went with a whole nother play. He's still filling out and learning things with this offense and the offensive coordinator. I'm not making excuses, Briss. I'm not making excuses for him. He's been playing lousy. He needs to play better. I'm not making excuses in that portion. But I'm saying I think Tyrod Taylor, with this experience, will be able to make better reads on that, give himself more time, and give the Giants advantage if defense can keep us in this game. Because, like I said, Daboll knows the mind of Josh Allen.
Give me a prediction, and then you can skadoodle.
A prediction. Oh, this sucks because I know I want the Giants to win, but I can't be that person. Giants lose. I'm sorry. 34-17, maybe. Something like that. Scoregami, maybe. I don't think we've had many of those ever, so I could see something in that range. But if the Giants were to win, it'd be like a 21-24 field goal. Graham Gano wins it at the end type shit. That's how I think it would go. I'm just being real. He's the best player on the team. If someone's going to win, it's going to be a 56 or 60-yard field goal by Graham Gano we probably shouldn't have hit, and that's how it's going to happen. And then hopefully that spirals us into a win streak. But
he's my fantasy kicker, and had he not missed 2, I would have had a win this week. So big thank you to Graham Gano, best Giants player. It looks like Saquon might play this weekend. I wouldn't expect a ton out of him, though. He generally comes back and plays like garbage. So no DJ, a somewhat limited Saquon. That's a recipe for a loss.
This
will happen.
This isn't gonna be good. I mean, it's probably gonna be like how the last 4 losses have been. Buffalo's still. I mean, I know they're 3-2, but they've lost 2 1-possession games. They need to get better in those 1-possession games, but yeah, this is Josh Allen should have a big day against this defense. If they're prime time, the Giants, obviously, we know how much they struggle there. Yeah, it's going to be a really, really rough game. I think they're going to have trouble scoring against Buffalo's defense. Even though Matt Milano, and Tre'Davious White are out, they're going to have a ton of trouble against this Buffalo defense. I'm saying 34-10. I think it's going to be a really, really brutal one on Sunday night. Because that game on Sunday, let's be honest, there was a lot. That final score was not indicative of the game. The Dolphins completely.
Well, let's be real. If they score that touchdown in the first half, we don't know what happens. We don't know what happens. If they're in that game, they score that touchdown. Yes, they probably still end up ultimately losing, but we don't know what happens from there.
Yeah, but a big reason why we stayed in that game was because the Tua threw 2 bad interceptions. That pick near the goal line.
That's part of the game. Yeah. Don't tell me that's part of the game. That's your defense playing well. Don't tell me it's like it's just bad luck. No, the defense played well. That's part of football. You have to make good throws. You have to complete them. That's part of. They get intercepted. They get deflected. When it happens to Daniel Jones, we're very critical of him. You just can't be like this now. Oh well, Tua made 2 bad passes. No. Tua played bad on 2 plays, and the defense played well. That's how that went, because we have to be the same way with Daniel Jones that we are with every other quarterback.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? That's such the idea that the Giants were still in position against this team, much like they were a couple weeks ago with the 49ers. I mean, you for whatever reason have been able to play with those 2 football teams.
They were Seattle too. They were in the Seattle game till the second half. They just can't score. If they can find a way to score, get some momentum going, they could win game.
Well, yeah, look, first of all, they've got to score in the first quarter. They've got to figure out a way to put points on the board in the first quarter. And here's the other thing. Look, you're 1-4. Throw the football down the field. Figure out how to protect and get the ball down the field. Steve, I was mentioning earlier, 1 ball down the field this week.
That one was Slayton, That one was Slayton,
And I mean, like, Darius Slayton did not even attempt to slide his feet. It was like, I don't know. Like, this team blows my mind. You're going to probably lose. Take chances. Why not take chances? Running the football down 15, 6 minutes to go makes it looks like you're quitting.
They must be hiding. He must not be able to run routes. They're hiding Hyatt. There's no reason why this kid is the fastest player on the field, and you're not just fly after goddamn fly after post. I'd be running his ass down the field like they do Tyreek Hill. Like, people tell me quick, fast. The Giants throw quick, but we throw behind the line. Tua's throwing quick slants off the line this way, quick slants. Running backs are coming out the backfield. They go, we throw sideways. How many times are we going to throw to Paris Campbell in the backfield sideways where he either doesn't catch the ball or gains a yard and a half?
Paris Campbell for no gain is like the call of the year so far for the Giants.
I'm so and again, if you look at last year, look at a highlight film from last year. Look at our best plays. We were throwing reverses and all types of stuff. We were actually running plays, putting people in motion. We've been stagnant and dry this year. Literally, I think they're starting to think that their receivers were so good. Oh, we just block and just let the receivers do what we got to do. We don't need misdirections. And no, you do need that because your line can't block. You need to have defensives guessing. You just can't have your quarterback just sitting back there like a duck. That's literally how he's going to die. Daniel Jones's career will end fast if they keep blocking like that.
Yeah.
You don't got to worry about how much we're paying him because we will be drafting a new quarterback. I'll see you guys.
All right, Zay. Thanks for making it. You're the man. We'll see you next week.
Of course. See you guys.
Maybe the Giants win.
Hold it
All
down.
right.
That's gonna
Steve,
be
I'll give you the final word here. Look, Zay's a little optimistic. He thinks this team can turn it around in the second half. That schedule, we just ran through it. I mean, it's about as favorable as you could hope for. Do you think that this team has a chance to have a strong second half?
I think they'll be okay in the second half. You look at the schedule. Yeah, they got the Commanders twice. They got the Patriots. They should beat the Commanders one of those two games. They should definitely beat the Patriots. The Patriots are absolutely pathetic. The Packers, that's winnable, seeing the way Jordan Love's played. Yeah, the Raiders, that's a winnable game. So, but I think they might win like 5, maybe 4 or 5 games, maybe 6. But I just don't see it with this team because they're not even competitive. I mean, they've lost 4 games by double digits. I know they're good teams. I get that they're good teams. I get that they're not the worst team in the league, the Giants, but they've lost 4 games by double digits. They're not even competitive in any of these games. I mean, that's why I just don't see this team being a playoff team. They're just bad in a lot of areas. I mean, the offensive line we know is terrible. The defense hasn't played as well this year. Daniel Jones, yes, the line's terrible. I get it, but he hasn't played as well this year either. It just feels like this team it's not any good. It's just when you lose 4 games by 2 scores, I mean that's not good. I don't care who you're playing. You can't, especially in the NFL. A lot of NFL games that even the bad teams, they'll have a game where they lose to a good team by a touchdown or something. This team's lost 4 games. Yeah, this team just isn't. To me, this team just isn't good.
And let's not forget their only victory of the season. They were trailing 28-7 in that game, and looked lifeless in the first half.
Oh, terrible! Absolutely pathetic. Oh my god.
What do you make of, again, what I sort of perceive as just a lack of, I don't want to say hustle, I don't think that's fair, but a lack of fire, not just in Kayvon Thibodeaux, but I've mentioned a couple weeks ago, barely hear Okereke's name at all. Yeah. It's like that guy's made very little impact. And I mean, I thought that was a great signing by the Giants, a spot that, since Antonio Pierce has really not been filled, just, I don't know. Brian Daboll's the greatest coach in the NFL last season. What's going on here?
I think number one, the roster, they and obviously they overachieved a little bit last year, but the roster they didn't really make a lot of improvement. They really didn't go out and get a number one receiver. They didn't improve the offensive line, and defensively, you think that with some of the improvements they may get, Okereke would be better, but and you think with Thibodeaux in the second year we get better, but it's gotten worse. So I think definitely part of this is definitely on Joe Shane. Brian Daboll, he just hasn't had as good of a for some reason he just hasn't had as good of a year. He hasn't got this team ready to play, and at times you've seen poor special teams, penalties. I mean, you've seen different things this year where just Daboll has just not had. And I was a big Daboll guy last year, but he hasn't had this team ready to play. And then ultimately the quarterback position, yes, as I said earlier, the offensive line is bad and he doesn't have a number one receiver, but still he hasn't stepped up this year. Outside of that Arizona game, he hasn't stepped up either this year. So it's just been a combination of everything. Pretty much the defense, the quarterback, the offensive line. It's just been a combination of everything. It's just been, that's why this team has been such a disappointment. And the schedule has been obviously brutal, but you'd like to see them get at least one more win in the 6-game stretch and be competitive, and they just haven't.
To me, the game against Seattle is a regrettable game, and if they're able to turn this season around and they come up just short, I think you're probably more on point with 5 or 6 wins. But let's say they get a little crazy, they have a big second half. I think potentially the Seattle loss is going to end up being the one that's going to have been the most problematic. By the way, depends on, I guess, how you look at it. Daniel Jones says he doesn't think the neck injury is going to be a long-term concern. This is not the same situation as the neck injury from 2 years ago, where he missed the final 6 games. So if you like Daniel Jones and you want him around, that's good news. And if you feel differently, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that is not going to be a long-term issue. Yeah. I'm hate watching right now. It's been painful. The Giants have looked overmatched. I'll say, look, the defense, I think they played as well as they could against Miami. I really do.
I know they forced the turnovers. It's just they gave up so. I know that's a great offense. I get
the big.
They gave up so many yards, 500 yards of offense.
The big plays, the constant big plays.
Yeah.
Again, that felt like a team that didn't think it was going to win. The Giants hit the ball for 37 minutes.
Oh man, and only scored 9 points because 7 of those were on the defense.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's inexcusable. You're a professional football team.
Yeah,
it's 2023 again. I go back to Tyrod Taylor's in the game. There's 6:55 to go. They're down by 15, and they're running the football.
Yeah, just take shots. As you said, just take shots. Yeah,
throw it. I would rather see Tyrod Taylor throw 3 pick sixes than have to watch Matt Breida run for 2 yards.
Because technically, that game is, I mean, as much as the Dolphins dominated, that game was technically not over at that point. Right. You could still come back. You would still have a chance to come back. Even though how much they got dominated, you can still come back in that situation.
Yeah. Frustrating, though, again, to see, I perceive it just as a overall lack of effort. It was like, we didn't get blown out, and they just decided to ride that game out.
Yeah, they were just content about that, yeah.
That was not what we're looking for at all.
No, not at all.
All right.
Not at all.
Steve Risser, I appreciate you joining us again Wednesdays. He and Justin D'Onofrio break down the wide world of sports. Fantastic show, 1:00 Eastern time. You can also download the audio version of that podcast every Wednesday afternoon, wherever you download your podcasts and at clovercrestmedia.com. Joining about the G-Men, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, we're everywhere. Follow, like, subscribe. Steve, much appreciated.
My pleasure.
We had a lot to talk about. You helped us out big time. Big thank you to Zay, who had to run. The wife's pregnant and wasn't about to have him out all night. So that's going to do it for this week. We'll be back next Thursday night, 8:00, and hopefully some good news about the Giants. Until next time, I'm Joe Aguirre for Steve Risser. Thanks for watching.